Hey guys, today we're going to talk about what you should be planting in the early months of your growing season. This month is April, and let's dive into a little bit what you should be growing during those early months of your growing season. So, I live in Pennsylvania. I live in Zone 6A, so my last frost date isn't until the end of May. So, when you live in an area where your frost dates are that late, you want to start your plants indoors, which is why we built this greenhouse. We want to have all our plants started early. That way, you're not direct sowing everything and then you're waiting for that harvest. You want to get the most out of your plants, and for us, starting them indoors sooner is just the way that we like to go about things. So, today we're going to talk about the plants that you should start indoors in April, and this is for zones that have a very late frost date. If you're into planting things direct sow, you do you. But for us, this is what we have to do. So I'm just going to talk to you a bit about what you should be starting in April. Peppers. Peppers are definitely something that you want to start early because peppers take a very long time to germinate. They need a decent amount of humidity and to get that germination process started. So getting these peppers to the point that they are now took a while. And we like some peppers around here, like bell peppers, jalapenos. And so these are things that we want to grow in our garden, but direct sowing just isn't an option, especially in an area where it's so cold and that humidity just isn't going to exist in our garden if we did even direct sow. So starting these indoors, we started these back in the beginning month of April. So very beginning, it's late April now, but these are things that you want to start early on because these do take a while to produce. Next up, tomatoes. Tomatoes are something that you probably could get away with direct sowing here, but we like to just be prepared and have a head start at things. So tomatoes are something that we start a little bit earlier. These are our pear cherry tomatoes and some moneymaker tomatoes, along with our San Marzano and a bunch of Roma and San Marzano that we planted early on as well. They don't look great. We're trying to figure out the temperatures and stuff in this greenhouse, so still working on that. But tomatoes are, again, something that you could probably get away with direct sowing. You could get away with pruning and taking suckers and making your own plants later on, but starting these indoors early on is something that I would recommend as a April plant. And lastly, starting your squash plants, gourds, watermelon, and cucumbers indoors early in April is another thing that you want to get a head start on because they take off very quickly, but these will be ready to go out in May whenever that time comes. So maybe these can even be transplanted. Now that we have a greenhouse, we have more options and abilities to up the pot size and maybe put them in something a little bit bigger than what it was before. So things like that, even a greenhouse, if you live in an area that has these late frost dates, will help you out with these plants and the seasons and just getting a head start and making sure that you do have a produce and a harvest throughout your season. So cucumbers and squash, pumpkins, gourds, all those things that you want to have in your garden, things like that, they can be planted early on as well. Another thing that I started was cabbages, and I've never grown cabbages before, so I can't really say that's something that you should start early, but from my experience, I started my cabbage in April, and just seeing how they look now, I would say, yeah, you probably would want to start your cabbages early, because they do take a while to grow and germinate, so starting those a little bit earlier might help you later on get a bigger plant to plant instead of direct sowing and waiting all that time. But things like beans and corn and flowers, all those things can be direct sown later in the season, but for right now you want to get the most out of your garden, and for us, we like to plant full plants in our garden to have that just a little bit more established. So having this greenhouse is a huge blessing, and also being able to start our plants early on is just something as a gardener we like to do. And I think if you're living in one of these areas like me, it's something that you should think about. And so this is just things that you should plant in April. I hope you guys learned something and I was able to teach you something while you were here. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. If you want to follow along in our journey, make sure to subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.